Hello guys, welcome to the Expensive Coins History channel. Look closely at the change in your pocket because a single penny could be the key to a small fortune. Most people spend these coins without a second thought, but for the serious collector, the year 1972 holds a secret that can turn a common cent into a legendary treasure. We are talking about the Canadian 1-cent coin from 1972, a year that saw nearly 500 million pennies enter circulation. While the vast majority of these coins are worth exactly 1 cent, there are hidden gems among them that have reached astronomical heights in the numismatic world. The 1972 Canadian penny features the iconic young portrait of Queen Elizabeth II on the obverse and the classic maple leaf design on the reverse. To the untrained eye, it looks like any other bronze coin. However, elite collectors look for more than just a date. They look for condition, luster, and the presence of rare minting errors. During the early 1970s, the Royal Canadian Mint was producing coins at an incredible pace to keep up with the demands of a growing economy. This high-speed production often led to unique anomalies. Coins that were never meant to leave the mint point. One of the primary factors that drives the value of a 1972 penny into the thousands of dollars is the grade. We are talking about coins that have been preserved in a time capsule, untouched by human hands and never shoved into a cash register or dropped on a sidewalk. These are known as mint state coins. On the professional grading scale of 1 to 70, a 1972 penny that achieves a grade of MS66 or MS67 is a rarity. But when you find one that hits the nearly perfect mark of MS68 or higher, with its original red copper glow still blazing as if it were struck yesterday, you are looking at a museum-quality piece. The composition of the 1972 cent is 98% copper, which is significantly different from the plated steel pennies used in later years. This high copper content means that the coins are susceptible to oxidation. Finding a 1972 penny that hasn't turned brown or developed spots over the last 5 decades is a challenge that many collectors are willing to pay a premium for. The deep, original red color is what the market demands. When that color is paired with a flawless strike, the bidding wars at major auctions begin to intensify. Beyond the condition, error hunters are constantly scouring 1972 pennies for die cracks and doubling. A die crack occurs when the hardened steel stamp used to strike the coin begins to fracture under the immense pressure of the minting press. This leaves a raised line of metal on the finished coin. While minor cracks are common, a major cuds or a massive die break that covers a significant portion of the design can make a 1972 penny a one-of-a-kind specimen. There is also the mystery of the off-center strike. Imagine a copper planchet being fed into the machine, but it doesn't quite sit right. The hammer die comes down and strikes the coin while it is partially hanging out of the collar. The result is a penny with a distorted shape and a design that is shifted to one side. These dramatic errors are highly visual and are some of the most sought-after pieces for collectors who want something that breaks the mold of a standard collection. For those of you holding onto old jars of Canadian change, the hunt for the 1972 penny is not just about the money. It is about the history of Canadian craftsmanship. This was an era before the 12-sided design was introduced, a time when the round bronze penny was a staple of everyday life. To find one in its pristine, original state is to hold a piece of history that has somehow escaped the ravages of time. As we evaluate the market trends for 2026, the demand for high-grade Canadian copper continues to rise. Investors are moving away from volatile markets and into tangible assets like rare coins. The scarcity of 1972 pennies in top-tier condition makes them a solid play for anyone looking to build a serious portfolio. You have to be diligent. You have to use a magnifying glass. You have to check every single coin because you never know when a fortune is hiding in plain sight. The technical specifications of the 1972 penny are important to note. It weighs 3.24 grams and has a diameter of 19.05 millimeters. If you find a coin that feels lighter or has a different metallic ring when dropped, you might have stumbled upon a wrong planchet error. This happens when a blank intended for a different coin, perhaps from a foreign contract the mint was fulfilling at the time, accidentally gets struck with the 1972 penny dies. These are the holy grail finds of the hobby. Think about the journey a coin takes. Most 1972 pennies have been used to buy newspapers, candy, or hardware. They have been lost in sofa cushions and buried in garden soil. To find one that has stayed in a protected environment for over 50 years is a miracle of survival. That survival is what collectors are paying for. They aren't just buying a cent. They are buying the preservation of a moment. The visual appeal of a red, designated 1972 penny is undeniable. In the world of numismatics, coins are classified as brown, red-brown, or red. A coin that is designated as full red means it has retained at least 95% of its original mint luster. This is the gold standard. When you see a 1972 penny with that brilliant, fiery orange-red surface, you know you are in the presence of something special. It stands out in a sea of dull, circulated coins. If you are a serious collector in the 35 to 65 age bracket, you likely remember when these coins were everywhere. But how many of us had the foresight to put away a pristine roll in 1972? Very few. That lack of foresight by the general public is exactly why the price for high-end specimens has climbed so high. The supply is tiny, while the number of enthusiasts joining the hobby is growing every year. This imbalance is a recipe for massive value growth. As we conclude this first look at the trio of coins, remember that the 1972 penny is the elder statesman of the group. It represents the pinnacle of the classic round bronze era. The sheer volume of coins produced makes the hunt difficult, but it makes the discovery of a high-value piece that much more rewarding. When you find a 1972 Canadian penny in an elite condition, you are looking at a value of $43,000. Moving from the early 70s into the start of a new decade, the year 1981 represents a critical transition in the world of coinage. For the Canadian 1-cent piece, this was a year of massive production, with over 1.2 billion pennies struck. Yet, within this staggering volume lies a specific category of rarity that separates a common pocket piece from a high-stakes investment. The 1981 Canadian penny is often overlooked because it looks so similar to the years surrounding it, but for the discerning eye, the nuances in its strike and the potential for dramatic minting errors are where the true profit is found. This coin is composed of 98% copper and 2% tin and zinc, a traditional bronze alloy that would soon be phased out for cheaper alternatives. Because of this high copper content, the primary enemy of the 1981 penny is the environment. Most of the billions of pennies produced in 1981 have spent decades circulating through the economy, suffering from scratches, dents, and the inevitable browning of the copper. To find a 1981 penny that has maintained its full fiery red luster is a significant achievement. In the world of high-end numismatics, the red RD designation is the absolute requirement for a coin to reach the upper echelons of value. When we talk about a coin reaching a value in the tens of thousands, we are looking at a combination of a near-perfect strike and a miraculous state of preservation. Imagine a coin that was struck from a fresh set of dies, capturing every microscopic detail of the maple leaves and the young profile of the queen. If that coin was then immediately whisked away into a protected environment, never touching another coin, never seeing a single fingerprint, it becomes a candidate for the elusive MS-68 or MS-69 grade. These grades are mathematically rare. Out of the billions of 1981 pennies minted, perhaps only a handful have survived in this condition. But the 1981 series is also famous for its wrong planchet errors. This is where the story gets truly interesting for the high-level collector. During the high-speed chaos of the minting floor, mistakes happen. One of the most legendary errors involving the 1981 cent is a penny that was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a 10-cent coin. Because the dime planchet is made of a different alloy and is smaller in diameter, the resulting cent has a distinct silvery appearance and a truncated design where the dies overlapped the edges of the smaller blank. These transitional or off-metal errors are the trophies of the hobby. They represent a breakdown in the system, a freak occurrence that managed to bypass the rigorous quality controls of the Royal Canadian Mint. There are also instances of 1981 pennies struck on blanks that were already partially clipped. A clipped planchet error occurs when the metal strip used to punch out the coin blanks isn't fed through the machine correctly, leading to a coin with a crescent-shaped piece missing from its edge. While small clips are relatively common, a double-clipped or a straight-clipped 1981 penny in uncirculated condition is a visual marvel. Collectors of mint errors value these because they are impossible to replicate and serve as a physical record of a mechanical failure. For the audience watching this, men who have spent years or decades appreciating the fine details of history and mechanics, the 1981 penny is a masterclass in hidden in plain sight. You might have a jar of these in your attic or a box in your garage. Most people see a pile of bronze. The expert sees a potential auction headliner. The market for these specific high-grade and error coins has seen a surge in 2026. As more collectors enter the space, the survival rate of pristine 1981 coins becomes the driving force behind the price. It is basic supply and demand. The supply of perfect 1981 pennies is fixed and incredibly low, while the demand from wealthy investors looking for tangible assets is at an all-time high. To identify a winner, you must look for the double die varieties. In 1981, some dies were produced with a slight misalignment, causing a doubling effect on the lettering or the date. While some of these require a microscope to see, the major double dies are visible to the naked eye. If you find a 1981 penny where the 1 or the 9 in the date appears to have a ghosted second image behind it, you have moved out of the realm of spare change and into the realm of professional collecting. The weight is another telltale sign of a high-value rarity. A standard 1981 Canadian penny should weigh approximately 2.5 grams. If you find one that is significantly heavier or lighter, it could indicate a planchet intended for a foreign currency that the Royal Canadian Mint was producing under contract for another nation. These international errors are incredibly rare and often fetch the highest prices at specialized numismatic auctions because they bridge the gap between Canadian history and global minting operations. As you sort through your collection, pay close attention to the rim of the coin. A wire rim or an exceptionally sharp, high-relief edge can indicate a specimen strike or a coin that was struck with extra pressure for a collector set. These were never intended for circulation, but they occasionally find their way into the wild. A 1981 specimen cent that has somehow remained in its original state is a true treasure. The hunt for these coins is a game of patience and precision. It requires the heart of a historian and the eye of a jeweler. Every 1981 penny you hold is a 1 in a billion chance. But someone has to own the best ones. Someone has to be the one to pull that MS-68 red specimen out of an old roll. Why couldn't it be you? The sheer thrill of the discovery is what keeps the hobby alive. When all the factors align, the perfect strike, the original mint luster, and the absence of any surface marks, the 1981 Canadian penny reaches a staggering value of $34,000. We turn our attention to the final piece of this high-value trio, a coin that represents a massive shift in Canadian minting history and a true anomaly for collectors. The 1993 Canadian 1-cent piece. By the early 1990s, the Royal Canadian Mint was in a period of intense experimentation with materials and production costs. The 1993 penny was among the last generations of the traditional copper-colored cents before the composition changed forever. While nearly 800 million of these were struck, the vast majority are worth nothing more than their face value. However, for the elite collector, the 1993 date is synonymous with a modern rarity that defies the odds of mass production. What makes the 1993 penny so special in the eyes of a professional numismatist is the transition from the older bronze alloy to the copper-plated zinc and eventual steel compositions. During this era, the mint was constantly adjusting its presses to handle different metal hardnesses. This resulted in a small number of coins that possess what collectors call a proof-like or specimen quality, even if they were found in a standard circulation roll. A 1993 penny that displays a deep, mirror-like field and frosted details on the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II is a sight to behold. These PL or SP designated coins are the crown jewels of a 1990s collection. The value of a 1993 penny is driven almost entirely by its technical perfection. Because these coins were handled by high-speed machinery and tossed into large ballistic bags for transport, they almost always suffer from bag marks, tiny nicks and scratches caused by coins hitting one another. Finding a 1993 cent that has 0 contact marks, even under 10x magnification, is like finding a needle in a haystack. This is why the grade of MS-69 or the virtually impossible MS-70 is where the value explodes. At this level of perfection, you are no longer looking at a coin. You are looking at a masterwork of industrial art. For the serious men in this audience, those who appreciate the mechanical precision of a well-oiled machine, the 1993 mule or error coins are the ultimate prize. There are documented cases of 1993 pennies being struck with a slightly different die alignment or on a planchet intended for a foreign coin. Since the Royal Canadian Mint produced coins for dozens of countries in 1993, the possibility of a wrong metal error is always present. Imagine a 1993 penny struck on a tiny, white metal planchet intended for a foreign decimal. Such a coin would be an instant auction sensation, a ghost in the system that shouldn't exist. Another area to investigate is the double date or repunch date error. While less common in the 90s due to improved die-making technology, human error still played a role. If you find a 1993 penny where the 3 shows a clear secondary shelf or a doubling effect, you have found a coin that collectors will fight over. The 1993 date is particularly susceptible to die deterioration doubling, but the true hub doubling is what carries the massive price tag. You must learn to distinguish between a worn-out die and a genuine mint error to truly master this market in 2026. The market for 1990s Canadian coins is experiencing a renaissance. A new generation of investors is realizing that while the older 19th century coins are already expensive and accounted for, the modern era of the 1970s through the 1990s still has many undiscovered treasures hiding in old collections. The 1993 penny is the perfect example of this. It is a coin that many people alive today actually remember using, which adds a layer of nostalgia and relatability that older coins lack. This emotional connection, combined with extreme technical rarity, is a powerful driver of value. As you look at the 1993 penny, notice the DG Regina inscription and the fine lines of the maple leaves. On a high-value specimen, these lines are razor-sharp. There is no blurring, no mushiness in the strike. The rim should be perfectly centered and uniform all the way around. Any deviation from this, a broad strike where the coin is wider than usual or an off-center strike where part of the design is missing, multiplies the value of the coin by a factor of hundreds. The color of the 1993 penny is also a major factor. While the 1972 and 1981 coins were solid bronze, the 1993 is a plated coin. This means the luster is different. It has a more electric or vibrant orange-red glow compared to the deep, classic red of the older copper. Keeping this plating intact and free of zinc rot or bubbling is the greatest challenge for 1993 collectors. A 1993 cent that has survived for over 30 years without a single spot of oxidation or a single bubble in the plating is a miracle of preservation. Why are we focusing on these 3 specific years? Because they represent the evolution of a nation's currency. From the solid bronze of 1972 to the high-production era of 1981 and the technological transitions of 1993. These coins tell the story of Canada's economic journey. For a collector, owning the finest known example of each is a way to own a piece of that timeline. It is about the hunt, the research, and the ultimate satisfaction of knowing you have something that 99% of the world has overlooked. As you conclude your search through your own holdings, remember that the experts aren't born. They are made through hours of study and thousands of coins inspected. The 1993 penny might look like a simple cent, but to the right person, it is a life-changing discovery. When all the conditions are met, the MS69 grade, the full electric red luster, and the flawless strike, the 1993 Canadian penny carries a massive value of $28,000.